You are watching AnewZ. We have breaking news from COP29 in Baku, where the revised draft text for the new Collective Quantified Goal, or NCQG, has sparked fierce backlash. The proposal suggests $300 billion annually by 2035, with developed nations leading the financial support. But developing nations have made it clear this figure is far from enough. Let's hear more from our Guy Sean and Orkan Amasho from the COP29 venue. Guy, what are the recent developments concerning the finance deal?
Let's hear the drama and the acrimony continues here at COP29. We've just heard that in response to the improved text with the larger figure of $300 billion per year by 2035, developing nations collectively are standing firm and very strongly are pushing back, saying that that is not enough. We've heard, for example, from the Bolivian representative who described that figure as both inadequate and offensive, saying that the $250 billion target was a joke. More than a joke, it was an insult, and $300 billion is just unacceptable. The figure should be at least $500 billion. Orkan Amasho, very, very strong pushback indeed.
Indeed, yeah, developing countries are pushing back, and that is something which we expected earlier. Indeed, $300 billion figure is not good enough, of course. If you compare it to what was agreed back in 2009, the Copenhagen Accords, that was $100 billion pledge. And now we're actually in the process of tripling it. It's not good enough, of course. The required figure is $1 trillion. Yes, indeed, least developed countries and also like-minded developing countries represented by Bolivia, India, they're all against this proposal. Uganda also, small developing states are acting in the self-same spirit. We earlier heard that demand is that anything less than $600 billion would not be acceptable. Now it looks like that $500 billion figure has been discussed as a possible compromise as long as developing countries are concerned. Yes, indeed, we heard some strong language from Bolivia saying that $200 billion figure is a joke, it's an insult. We also understand that other countries have expressed their dissatisfaction, Uganda being amongst those countries. And actually, I think that this discontent reached a breaking point when the least developed countries bloc raised a point about order of discussions, and they said that this meeting means nothing for them, and if they continue, the developed countries continue discussion in the self-same spirit, they will have no option but to leave the room. They're calling for the suspension of the meeting. So really, tensions are boiling over. It looks like that we, at this stage, only managed to save the process just now, but the collapse of the process looks very, very imminent indeed. I'm sure COP29 President will do its level best to bring parties together again, but it looks like a impossible task now. But some last-ditch attempts, of course, currently being made. I mean, this was expected, to be absolutely honest with you. I think that now, in terms of the figures, NCQG figure, so developed countries now, developing ones mentioned $500 billion as an acceptable figure. Earlier the figure was actually $600 billion. And now we expect some increase to that $300 billion figure. So probably negotiations will continue, but now it looks incredibly hopeless, to be honest with you.
Yeah, very difficult. And also, it's more than just deadlock, isn't it? Because as you said, with every piece of acrimony, every disagreement, tensions are actually increasing.
Tensions are increasing now because we have to understand that there is something else there apart from the figure. What is the language in connection with mitigation? The Gulf countries are against accepting anything legally binding about anything stronger than transitioning away. So let's be very clear. UAE consensus was based on the idea that we agree on transitioning away from fossil fuels in an orderly, just and equitable manner. What does this mean? It doesn't mean phasing out. My feeling is that there is an attempt on the side of the global north countries to reintroduce this particular consensus with a stronger terminology. There's nothing wrong about this. We achieved this consensus already, and COP29 is building upon that consensus. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But stronger language is something that Gulf countries would not accept at this juncture. I think the representative of Saudi Arabia was saying that this COP's key focus, centerpiece, is climate finance. Therefore, let's not focus on that, transitioning away language so closely as we tend to do now when it comes to the dealings of the Western countries. What happened earlier is that the Western countries, global North countries, they introduced this figure, a 250 billion figure, at a later stage. And the intention there was that Global South would understand that this is what it is and there's nothing else that could be achieved, and therefore we have to agree to that figure. But as we see from this acrimony, this incrimination and recrimination which is currently flying in the air, we realize that that policy did not work out, and now we reached another level of gridlock. I mean, throughout the day, we have been through different stages. The first thing in the morning, hopelessness. Then again, another layer of complexity was added to this process, with Saudi Arabia leaving the process and coming back again. We know that German foreign minister is here now in one of those meeting rooms, and they're discussing the NCQG text with other ministers. We know that some European leaders did not come here. Some of them came but left later. We know that we need a quorum for that plenary session. We don't know whether it will start at 7 o'clock or not. It was scheduled to start at 10 o'clock, and then there was another date, another time was given. And now we reached the point that process is actually on the brink of collapse, and the COP29 presidency is doing a very hard job to save this process now. And it's a very complicated process, but hope's still there. I mean, let me be absolutely honest. Unwavering sense of hope is still there, but let's see what's going to happen.
Very difficult indeed. Problems remain with the figure, problems remain with the language, tensions boiling over in certain quarters. Let's hope that in the coming hours some of that can be overcome. Back to you, Bakhtir.